extends a warm welcome to all who have joined us as we celebrate the accomplishments of Lieutenant Colonel retired James H. Harvey III, Lieutenant Colonel retired Harry T. Stewart Jr., and the 332nd Fighter Group Tuskegee Airmen for their historic win at the 1949 Aerial Gunnery Competition here in Las Vegas, Nevada. At this time, we request all electronic devices be placed on silent. Adhering to COVID safety guidance, please maintain social distancing and keep your mask on at all times. During the national anthem, military members should stand at attention. Civilians are encouraged to place their right hands over their hearts. The presiding officer for today's ceremony is General Mark D. Kelly, Commander, Air Combat Command. Joining us here today is Colonel Harvey and his daughter, Kathy. Joining us virtually is Colonel Stewart and his family. We would also like to recognize Wish of a Lifetime, their partner organization AARP, and senior representatives from Tuskegee Airmen Incorporated who are joining us today. Finally, we welcome all of our MAJCOM commanders, general officers, command chiefs, and distinguished visitors attending in person and virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem and invocation.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
How can I follow that? Let us pray. Good and gracious God, Father of our freedoms, we gather here today in unity and a warm sense of family, bound together in this family called the United States Air Force. We thank you for the unity that we share here today, the unity we find in our diversity. Diversity that was made possible by the many brothers and sisters in arms, like the Tuskegee Airmen, who knocked down racial barriers and took a stand when faced with adversity and chose to serve in the world's greatest military. Lord, let us never forget all who fought for racial equality. We are grateful for the service and contributions made by those of the 332nd Fighter Group and who are represented here today by Lieutenant Colonel Stewart and Lieutenant Colonel Harvey. And it is only by your grace, God, that this diversity continues to strengthen our Air Force family. And we pray that you continue to bless our beloved nation. This we ask in your almighty, all merciful name, you who endow all people with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may be seated. This year, as we honor the Air Force on its 75th birthday, we look to our past and those brave airmen who sacrificed so much before us. As some of you may know, President Harry S. Truman began the process to desegregate the military when he signed an executive order on July 26, 1948, that established a presidential committee to examine integration of the armed forces. Only 2 months prior, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force called for the first ever top gunnery meet to take place here at what was known then as Las Vegas Air Force Base. The meet, held in May 1949, summoned fighter groups from across the Air Force to compete in a Top Gun-style air competition. Of that inaugural group of airmen were Lieutenant James Harvey, Lieutenant Harry Stewart, Captain Alva Temple, and Lieutenant Halbert Alexander, members of the 332nd Fighter Group, Tuskegee Airmen. The men of the 332nd Fighter Group flew P-47 Thunderbolts that were virtually no match for the P-51 Mustangs flown by other teams. However, the 332nd Fighter Group executed magnificently and won top honors in their category, piston-driven aircraft. But for decades, the record of their win was unceremoniously missing, and history reported this winning team as unknown. This refusal to properly acknowledge these heroes, their win, and hard work propelled team members to take action to set the record straight. Last year, Lieutenant Colonel Harvey, a surviving member of the winning team, was contacted by Wish of a Lifetime by AARP, a nonprofit organization that grants wishes to senior community members. His wish was for his team to be widely recognized for their outstanding accomplishments. Thereby, future generations of airmen and Americans could gain an added sense of pride and learn of his team's aviation skill, dedicated service, and excellence in the face of adversity. We are here to officially recognize the 332nd Fighter Group, Tuskegee Airmen, for their amazing win. Today, in honor of Colonel Harvey, Colonel Stewart, and the 332nd Fighter Group, we will honor them with a certificate and unveil a plaque to formally congratulate their outstanding achievements and ensure future airmen will learn about this amazing moment in Air Force history. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have remarks from Mr. Tom Wagenlander, Executive Director, Wish of a Lifetime by AARP.
Good evening. My name is Tom Wagenlander, and I'm the Executive Director of Wish of a Lifetime from AARP, a national nonprofit that helped to bring Colonel Harvey here today. I want to start with a few thank yous because none of this would have been possible without the hard work of so many people. So first, I'd like to thank the Air Combat Control Team, Nellis Air Force Base, and the 57th Wing, with a special thank you to General Mark Kelly, General Case Cunningham, General Mike Drowley, as well as Ms. Karen Wilson, Ms. Desiree Broussard, Colonel Cesar Rodriguez and the team at Raytheon, Lieutenant Bethany Carlberg, Major Tamar Kane, Lieutenant Kathleen Dickerson, and Jerry Burton, National Tuskegee President. And I want to extend a special thank you to our gracious hosts who spent 4 hours the story of the historic win of the famed Tuskegee Airmen of the 332nd Fighter Group in 1949 at the first aerial gunnery competition. A story that for too long went unheard, and that 72 years after the fact, the embodiment of this story sits before us today. Colonel James Harvey III, Tuskegee Airman, is the epitome of service and sacrifice, commitment and excellence. A member of the winning team that included Colonel Harry Stewart, who joins from afar, Colonel Alva Temple, and Lieutenant Halbert Alexander. They represent the more than 1,000 documented Tuskegee Airmen who overcame the longest of odds and the greatest of injustices. Their history, this narrative, is the most important story we can tell because it is a part of all of us. It is ingrained in your service as airmen, personified in the sacrifice of all our veterans and military, and at the core of the freedoms every American enjoys. For this to be memorialized here at Nellis Air Force Base, not only the site of the 332nd's win, but a training and proving ground, couldn't be more fitting. So I want to say thank you, first to Colonel Harvey, for leading by example and showing us all what is possible, and secondly, to all of you, for empowering Wish of a Lifetime to inspire all generations, and for preserving this history so that here, at the home of the fighter pilot, and everywhere else, we may always be inspired and reminded of Colonel Harvey, the 332nd, the Tuskegee Airmen, and the best we have to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagenlander. Ladies and gentlemen, General Kelly.
Thanks, sir. It's good to see you again. And we've got a lot going on this week here with some conferences, but trust me, this is the coolest thing any of us will attend. A couple weeks ago, obviously in the face of Omicron and the pandemic that we're now going on our second year, and because we're talking about a national treasure, I was kind of hand-wringing, and I reached out to the team and I said, I don't know if we should do this, you know, in the midst of the, and they got a hold of Colonel Harvey, and he said, I've waited 73 years from this. I'm not going to wait any longer. So thanks for being here. Thanks for setting us straight, as usual, sir. And so of all the meetings, all the presentations that we'll attend this week for the Command and Control Summit and the Weapons and Tactics Conference, this is frankly the one I've been looking forward to the most. And it's because of this officer here, this patriot, this airman, this warrior, this champion. You know, we stand on the shoulders of giants in this profession, and Lieutenant Colonel Harvey is one of those giants that you get to meet in person. And again, we took 73 years to get here today, so I'm not going to make you wait another 73 years on me talking, but we're not going to race through this because it's an important time and you deserve the verbs and the nouns that come with this. So this man was inspired to fly when he saw a flight of P-40s over his house in rural Pennsylvania, and he attempted to enlist. And then he was later drafted, initially into the Army Air Corps Engineers, driving heavy equipment. But that was not the equipment he wanted to drive. So he took the aviation cadet exam, and he took it with 9 other candidates. Only 2 of the 10 passed the test. And so the theme of his life, if you read about his life, is you just had to be better than all the rest around you to pass the test. He goes on to complete primary training, basic training, and advanced flight training, and by April 1945. But with the impending end of World War II, his unit was held in place. And I asked Lieutenant Colonel Harvey about it when I met him at AFA in September, and he said, quote, "Hitler heard I was coming, so he threw in the towel." As we'll recognize today, in 1949, he represented the 332nd Fighter Group in the first United States Air Force gunnery meet here in Las Vegas. But just to get on the team, to be a member of the team, you had to have the highest scores across the Air Force. So just to be on the team, you had to be the best. General Benjamin O. Davis Jr. advised the team before they left, if you don't win, don't come back. So no pressure for the team. The gunnery competition included aerial gunnery at 12,000 feet, at 20,000 feet, dive bombing, rocket firing, and skip bombing up on the 60 series ranges with your propeller about a foot off the ground, and panel strafe. And this team that we've heard already about was supported by the finest technicians and maintainers the Air Force could produce. They didn't have the supply they needed, they didn't have the parts they needed, but they generated the sorties they needed, just like the rest of the team. The competing units, as mentioned, were flying newer, well-supplied F-51s and F-82 twin Mustangs compared to the 332nd Fighter Group's much older P-47s. The other units considered the P-47 obsolete and did not consider the 332nd as a true contender. But once the competition started, the 332nd Fighter Group led from start to finish. Older equipment didn't matter. You just had to be better than everyone else. Colonel Harvey went on to fly F-80 jets in Misawa Air Base, Japan, and 126 combat missions in the Korean War. And when asked about going from propellers to jets, I asked him again at AFA in September. He said, simply, "I'm a perfectionist, and when you're a perfectionist, you can do anything." He returned to the U.S. to fly F-86s at George Air Force Base and flew multiple aircraft through his career, including the F-102, retired from the United States Air Force in 1965. As mentioned already, although the 332nd Fighter Group won the 1949 competition by a landslide, the results stayed off the books for 46 years until they submitted irrefutable proof of their victory. And once they had the record books corrected, they needed to find the trophy, and it was eventually located by Ms. Ellie Orr in the storage area of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the museum in 2004, 55 years after their victory. So to get the records corrected, to locate the trophy, you just had to be more persistent, you just had to be better than everyone else. So, sir, thanks for being with us and honoring here with your presence. Thanks for your 73 years of patience, which you should not have had to endure. We normally get things right. We normally get them right faster than 73 years. But thanks as well to the Wish of a Lifetime team for honoring this champion, and thanks for everybody for attending today.
Thank you, General Kelly. It is now my distinct honor to introduce Lieutenant Colonel James H. Harvey III, United States Army Air Corps and United States Air Force retired. Colonel Harvey, we invite you to join General Kelly at the podium to share your story.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't get old.
So, sir, thanks again for attending with us today. I was going to ask you for the team here, besides the P-47 that you won the competition with, what was your favorite airplane to fly through your whole career?
My favorite was the F-102. A lot of people say F-102, but an O is the letter of the alphabet. It's not a number. So that's why I say F-102. That was my favorite. And fighter pilots like speed, and that aircraft, we go supersonic on the deck. That was back in '58. That's when I checked out in it. It was a good airplane. Like I said, I loved it.
Sir, besides the legacy here at the 1949 competition, and besides the legacy of the operational piece of the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II, what would you say is the larger overarching legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen today to a younger generation coming up?
Well, I would say you can do anything you want to do. You put your mind to it. And when I was coming through Tuskegee, before I even got here, when I was in school, I was a perfectionist. And perfectionists can do anything. And they keep practicing until they get it right, until they get it perfect. And flying school, no problems. I breezed right through flying school. And everything after flying school, still the same perfection until I got married. Then I had to knock it off. It didn't work. But my wife passed away several years ago, so I'm back to my old habits, perfection again. But like I say, if you can do anything you want to do, you put your mind to it, but you've got to stick with it, and you got to make sacrifices. So that's my answer.
So, sir, as we reflect on the 1949 competition, and we who were never there mentioned a few highlights, but what's your greatest memory of that competition?
Leading from start to finish.
You don't have to worry about catching up if you're always in the lead.
No, nothing. There's only one thing that bothered me, and it still bothers me today. Captain Temple they're going to award 2 trophies, one for high individual and one for high team. Now, Captain Temple on our team was high individual all the way up until the last event. This is my thinking. They wanted to get something out of this meet. They, meaning the other teams. They wanted to get something out of this meet. They didn't want to see us take everything. One of the rules of the meet was, if you abort, your team members take off, their score is counted, and yours is 0. Well, the last event, one of the pilots, was doing very well in the meet. He was right behind Temple, pretty close to Temple. He had to abort on the panel strafing mission, which is the last event. He had to abort. They gave him another airplane. Right there, they broke the rules. His score was so high, I think they gave him extra bullets also. But anyway, he aced Captain Temple out of high individual. And that bothers me today. Always has. They cheated to win, but nothing was ever done about it. I couldn't do anything about it, but it should be in the book somewhere. It should be. But I'd like to see Captain Temple get that award. I really would. He has passed, and I think the pilot that was given another aircraft and shouldn't have been, I think he has passed also. I'm not sure about that. But that's the only thing that still sticks in my craw.
Sir, when we were back, before we walked out, you made a comment about this plaque unveiling today, and you just said 2 quick words. You said, mission accomplished. And so any other thoughts about the plaque unveiling 73 years late, but it'll be here forever? Any other thoughts, sir, to that mission accomplished?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I said that, mission accomplished. What I'd like to do at this point is thank all the people involved in making this happen, so I could say mission accomplished. I don't know who you are, but you know who you are. I know who some of our people are. But whoever was involved in this plaque, thank you, thank you, thank you, from the 332nd Fighter Group. Not from me, I'm a part of it, but from the 332nd Fighter Group.
And sir, last question, then we'll obviously give you an opportunity to any other comments. As Lieutenant Colonel Stewart is watching, any other messages you have for him or the greater Tuskegee Airmen team today?
I'm sorry, I have a hearing problem, and I didn't get all that.
Any comments that you have for Lieutenant Colonel Stewart, who's watching today?
Hi, buddy, where are you?
He's watching through a video, sir.
Oh, I thought I'd see him on the screen. Oh, okay. Well, hi, buddy. Good you could make it. Too bad you couldn't be here, but I understand. And we'll see you one day. No problem. Take care in the meantime. Stay safe.
Sir, any other comments you'd like to share with the group here?
Well, it's like I say, this has been a long time coming, and I guess I can finally say mission accomplished. We can close the pages on this chapter and move on to something else. I'll think of something else. Because things were not very good for us in those days, but I won't go into that. You probably know as well as I do. But anyway, that's all I have, sir.
Thank you, sir. How would you like to see your plaque? Would you like to see your plaque, since you've waited 73 years to see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
All right. Oh.
Are we clear to go over there?
Yes, sir.
Why don't we put you on this side? You did the work. Yes, sir.
So, in our audience, we have the president of the 332nd.
Oh. We'll bring him up here as well. Sir, if you could join us? No, it's all good. It's all good. All right, sir, you can hold this out. Can you hold your cane? Sir, you can pull it back as well. Just pull it forward. Yes, sir. And there she is.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as we recognize the accomplishments of the 1949 Aerial Gunnery Competition winners.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It'll be here.
As we mentioned earlier, we have Lieutenant Colonel Stewart joining us virtually. He shared with us the following. Our group was better known as the Tuskegee Airmen. It was a group that was started in 1941 and ended in 1949. So this plaque is 73 years in the making. It is clearly an honor to receive it because it establishes a factual legacy of the Tuskegee Airmen that shows them as being among the top pilots during World War II. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Stewart. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for spending this joyous occasion with Colonel Harvey, Colonel Stewart, and their families. Please come forward to pass your congratulations. We do ask you avoid handshakes and maintain a 6-foot distance. Thank you for attending.